This year is Boom Studios' Go-Go Power Rangers comic issue number 24. This should be fairly quick because this issue is a bit of a standalone, because it focuses more on Bulk and Skull rather than the Power Rangers. So we see Bulk is being filmed by Skull, and they're both heading towards a giant monster versus the Red Dragon Thunderzord in warrior mode. It's pretty dangerous as the two giants battle it out and rubble even comes crashing down around Bulk. Both Bulk and Skull are obviously doing this for their channel, but it turns out they're not the only ones with that idea. Another group of teenagers are around and filming the battle too. So they're a rival channel to Bulk and Skull's. Not to be outdone by them, Bulk tells Skull they have to do whatever they have to. But how did we get here? We go back a few days where Bulk and Skull are interviewing Matt. Just as Matt begins to answer Bulk, Trini steps out so Bulk and Skull rush over to her instead. They ask Trini about the incident with War Bunny. Trini says she already answered Ranger Report. The Ranger Report being the rival channel we saw earlier with Brady and his friends. Trini leaves and Bulk is angered by this rival channel. Because of this new threat to Bulk and Skull's Ranger Station, they are going to have to up their game. So in order to do that, Bulk says that they are going to be prepared to go into the warzone. So that explains why Bulk and Skull were attempting something so dangerous on the first page. In terms of being prepared, we just see a bunch of tools that Bulk and Skull plan to take with them, one of which is the pair of goggles that we saw Bulk wearing at the start. So basically they're going in without much safety equipment when it comes to entering a war zone with giants. And there's finally a monster battle. It's the monster we saw at the start, so Bulk and Skull saw the battle escalate on TV and they decided to head off. On their way out of the youth centre they see the Brady bunch outside. There's a bit of an exchange between the two rivals and then Ranger Reports speed off on their scooters. Downtown the Thunderzords start taking on the monster. A police officer warns people to leave the area, and that goes for Bulk and Skull too. He places his hand over their camera and orders them to turn around. But during the monster battle, the letter T from the top of a building falls and crashes down close to Bulk and Skull. That was a good enough distraction for Bulk and Skull to make their way into the battle zone. As Bulk and Skull run through the alleyways, the debris from the battle starts falling and covers the two of them. Lucky for them, it's just dust and not boulders. They make their way onto the rooftop and by now the Thunder Megazord is in action. From the rooftop, Ranger Station should have a good angle for their video. We see that they do indeed get some good shots of the battle. They are able to capture every blow to and from the Thunder Megazord. The monster is able to knock the Thunder Megazord down. All the dust that's kicked up makes its way towards Brady and the others. They're trapped behind a fence and are getting hammered by the smoke and debris. Bulk says they'll be fine, but Skull thinks they should help. Skull's got his priorities right and tells Bulk they need to go down and help. Bulk eventually caves and leaves the camera behind on a tripod to continue recording. A reference is made to Rita here as Bulk says, "Make my wallet grow." A nice touch there. Bulk and Skull make their way down and they're putting their tools into action. Skull used a flare to light the way and Bulk uses his cutters to cut the fence open. Skull then hands a gas mask to one of Brady's friends. So those tools did come in handy after all. They all make their escape as the Rangers' battle continues. More debris starts falling around them as the two groups part ways. Bulk and Skull eventually go back for their camera. It was filming everything, but we then see the camera has fallen and the lens is cracked. So it doesn't look like Bulk's wallet will grow after all. If Bulk's camera is the equivalent of a GoPro in our world, then Bulk probably should have put it in a shock-proof case before he left it to film unattended. Anyway, the battle is over and we see a televised news report. The reporter says brave videographers recorded the Rangers' heroics. She begins interviewing Brady from the Ranger Report. He openly mocks Bulk on TV as, once again, Brady's videos beat Bulk and Skulls to the punch. At the youth centre, Ernie tells Bulk that a rumour has been going around, that Brady and his friends weren't the only ones running around in the chaos. He knows it was Bulk and Skull who rescued them. So Ernie offers Bulk a new milkshake dubbed Bulk's Guts. That seems to lift Bulk a little. Skull, on the other hand, is playing on an arcade machine when a girl approaches him. She's one of Brady's friends, and she wanted to thank Skull for saving her. Her name is Candace. So, that's how Skull met Candace, and that's how they ended up together. Things worked out quite well then for Skull, especially as it was his idea to go and rescue Brady and his friends. We then see Bulk and Skull together, and the milkshake wasn't enough to completely cheer Bulk up after all. Skull tells him that even though the Rangers have their armor and robots and Brady's got money, Bulk and Skull survived that chaos together with hearts and guts. So, that's it for this standalone. Know what? It was mostly unnecessary. I think the only bit that we got out of it that's relevant to the main story is how Skull met Candace. She just appeared in the comic, but only now do we find out how the two met. And it turns out that Bulk and Skull, but particularly Skull, were the heroes as they saved lives. Candace and Skull's relationship aside, this standalone can largely be ignored. What I will say though is that it was a fun standalone for Bulk and Skull, and it does take us away from the more serious storylines that are going on in Necessary Evil at the moment. I'm looking forward though to getting back on track with the main stories.